down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no. It's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
I've got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech. Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class? I mean,
is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time, and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now.
Bill Maher just took aim at Whoopi Goldberg, and let's just say he didn't hold back. This wasn't your average clapback. This was a full-on verbal demolition, and honestly, it was long overdue. Real quick, if you're into unfiltered commentary and bold takedowns like this, hit that subscribe button and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Every single one counts, and we seriously appreciate it. Now, back to Whoopi. She's made quite a name for herself lately, not for her acting, but for a steady stream of cringe-worthy hot takes since 2022. And let's be honest, she's practically been asking for this. Maher didn't just disagree, he went after her arguments like a heat-seeking missile, shredding them one by one. It was brutal, it was bold, and it left the woke crowd scrambling. So, what exactly did Whoopi say that set him off? Buckle up, this is not your typical political drama, it's a full-blown roller coaster. It all started when Whoopi decided to jump in and defend her fellow The View co-host, Sunny Hostin. You might remember Maher had previously slammed Sunny for putting words in his mouth. She took a hit, and now Whoopi's riding in like a backup singer in a fight she didn't start. Only problem? She brought zero facts and a ton of attitude. She leaned hard on the classic woke playbook miss, represent the argument, dodge the point, and hope nobody notices the logic holes big enough to drive a truck through. Bill Maher had made a simple, clear point. Black Americans want better jobs, a stronger economy, and reasonable policing. Straightforward stuff. But instead of engaging with that, Whoopi starts rambling about how she supports a former prosecutor who's for the working class. What? That's not a counterpoint. That's a complete pivot. Like watching someone answer a history question with a cooking recipe. It makes zero sense. And Maher? He called it exactly what it was in sense. The View, he said, has basically turned into a train wreck in the world of political talk shows. Painful to watch. But somehow, you can't look away. Between Sunny's confused takes and Whoopi's attempts to land punches that don't connect, it was a masterclass in how not to argue. Remember when Charlemagne the God showed up as a guest? You could see him wondering if he walked into an alternate dimension. And just to pile on, let's talk about the Biden family drama. President Joe Biden, who's publicly stated that no one is above the law, recently pardoned his son, Hunter, after a conviction for corruption. Talk about mixed signals. So, how do you spin that, exactly? Well, if you're Whoopi Goldberg, you pretend it never happened. She straight up said Biden's claim still holds up. Seriously? There's video, audio, and probably even memes out there proving otherwise. Watching Whoopi twist herself into a pretzel trying to defend that was like someone insisting the sky isn't blue while standing in broad daylight. Even Charlemagne looked stunned, and then she went further saying maybe Biden changed his mind because he was tired of being left out. Wait, what? That's not how justice works. That's how high school cliques work. And that's the core of the problem with the woke mob. They're all about justice and accountability, but only when it applies to people outside their circle. When it's one of their own, suddenly, it's crickets or, worse, excuses. But Bill Maher wasn't having it. Once he caught wind of all this, he didn't just respond, he torched the nonsense. His takedown was sharp, smart, and long overdue. This wasn't just Maher being edgy. This was Maher doing what he does, best cutting through the noise and calling out the hypocrisy, loud and clear. And honestly, it was refreshing. Bill Maher wasn't just right, was spot on. The so-called woke crowd loves to paint themselves as the ultimate truth tellers, the moral compass of our time. But this time, their hypocrisy was exposed under the brightest spotlight possible. Let's call it what it is. Hunter Biden was clearly guilty, but because his dad happens to be president, he gets to walk away without so much as a slap on the wrist. If this were anyone else, the outrage would be deafening. But when it's one of their own, suddenly, justice takes a coffee break. That's exactly what Maher called out. The double standard, the favoritism, the farce. So here's the real question. How much longer are everyday Americans going to sit back and accept this? Because this isn't just about Hunter. It's about a system that throws the book at regular people while rolling out the red carpet for the elite. Maher's takedown couldn't have come at a better time. For people still holding on to the idea that justice should mean something, this was a wake-up call. But Maher didn't stop with Hunter. He pointed the finger right at mainstream media, too. According to him, the press went out of its way to downplay the Hunter Biden scandal not to protect the truth, but to protect Joe Biden and derail Trump's re-election chances. Major outlets waved the story away as Russian disinformation, despite a mountain of growing evidence. And right there in the middle of it, Whoopi Goldberg echoing the spin, mocking anyone who dared take the allegations seriously. But Maher, he called it out, loudly. He tore through the excuses and dragged the double standard into the light. He didn't just criticize the View host, she exposed the strategy. The bullying disguised as progress, the performative outrage, the smug dismissal of any opinion outside their bubble, especially from Whoopi, who's mastered the eye roll as a defense mechanism. But Maher wasn't intimidated. He challenged their tactics and showed the audience what it really was. Not advocacy, but arrogance. And honestly, it was refreshing. Maher's message was crystal clear: stop crying over 2016. Trump didn't steal the election. He didn't magically hypnotize half the country. He won because millions of Americans chose him. They liked what he was offering, whether progressives liked it or not. And maybe, just maybe, it's time the left starts accepting that democracy means sometimes the other side wins. Want to win in 2028 or 2032? Then stop playing the victim and start playing smart. Because finger-pointing, conspiracy theories, and labeling everyone who disagrees with you as a bigot isn't a strategy, it's a tantrum. Maher nailed it again. Most Trump voters aren't hosting MAGA bonfires or bowing to golden statues. They were just tired of the lectures, tired of the hypocrisy, tired of watching basic logic get thrown out the window. Let's be real. When your party rallies behind ideas that feel more like a college activism project than real-world policy, you're going to lose people. When you host rallies that feel cozy with groups like Hamas or support biological men taking over women's sports, you're going to lose voters who just want common sense. They didn't vote for Trump because they loved his tweets or his tan. They voted for him because the alternative felt like being scolded by a vegan at a Texas barbecue. It's that simple. And in the end, Maher didn't just put the final nail in Whoopi's argument, practically built the coffin while laughing at how absurd it all was. Whoopi, the self-proclaimed high priestess of woke, went after Maher for daring to think independently. Big mistake. Huge. But Maher, as always sharp, funny, and fearless, turned the spotlight back on her and asked the obvious question: how can The View, a show that claims to celebrate diverse voices, attack someone just for having a different voice? Kinda ironic, right? The people screaming about tolerance are often the least tolerant of anyone who disagrees with them. Maher wasn't having it. He ripped the mask off the echo chamber, showing how dissent is treated like betrayal, and critical thinking gets replaced by groupthink. It wasn't just commentary. It was a masterclass in sarcasm and reason. And with that, today's episode wraps up. If you like this video and want to see more content that actually tells it like it is, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more where this came from. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.